Asparagus, a perennial flowering plant in the family Asparagaceae, is widely cultivated for its tender, succulent shoots that are commonly used in various culinary dishes around the world. Asparagus is a hardy plant that requires minimal care and attention, making it a popular choice for home gardeners and commercial growers alike. In this article, we will discuss in detail the various aspects of asparagus cultivation, including how to plant and care for the plants, common problems that can arise, and tips for maximizing yield. Part 1: Planting asparagus. When planting asparagus, it is important to choose a suitable location that receives full sun and has well-draining soil. Asparagus plants prefer a slightly acidic soil with a pH between 6.0 and 6.5. Before planting, it is recommended to prepare the soil by digging a trench that is about 12 inches deep and 18 inches wide. Add a layer of compost or aged manure to the bottom of the trench and mix it into the soil. Next, plant the asparagus crowns, which are the underground stems of the plant, at a depth of about 6 inches. Space the crowns about 18 inches apart in rows that are about 3 feet apart. Cover the crowns with a layer of soil and water well. Asparagus plants can take up to 3 years to produce a full harvest, so it is important to be patient during this time. Part 2: Care of asparagus. Once the asparagus plants are established, they require minimal care. Water the plants regularly, especially during dry spells, and weed around the plants to prevent competition for nutrients. Mulching around the plants with organic matter such as straw or shredded leaves can help retain moisture and suppress weed growth. Asparagus plants also benefit from regular fertilization. In the spring, apply a balanced fertilizer such as October 10, 2010 at a rate of 1 pound per 100 square feet. Repeat this application every 6 to 8 weeks until midsummer. Part 3: Common problems with asparagus. Asparagus plants are susceptible to a number of pests and diseases, including asparagus beetles, rust, and fusarium wilt. Asparagus beetles can be controlled by hand-picking the beetles and their eggs from the plants and destroying them. Rust and fusarium wilt can be prevented by planting disease-resistant varieties of asparagus and maintaining proper soil drainage and fertility. Another common problem with asparagus is the formation of thick, woody stems. This can be prevented by harvesting the spears when they are young and tender, before they have a chance to mature. Spears can be harvested by cutting them off at the soil line with a sharp knife or scissors. Part 4: Maximizing yield. To maximize yield from asparagus plants, it is important to follow a few key tips. First, avoid harvesting the plants in their first year of growth, as this can weaken the plants and reduce future yields. Second, continue to fertilize and water the plants regularly throughout the growing season. Third, harvest the spears when they are young and tender, as this will encourage the plants to produce more spears. Fourth, mulch around the plants to help retain moisture and suppress weed growth. Part 5: Harvesting and storing asparagus. Asparagus spears are ready to harvest when they are about 6 to 8 inches long and have a diameter of about ½ inch. To harvest the spears, use a sharp knife or scissors to cut them off at the soil level. It is important to harvest the spears every 2 to 3 days during the harvesting season, which typically lasts about 6 to 8 weeks. After harvesting the spears, it is important to store them properly to maintain their freshness and flavor. Asparagus can be stored in the refrigerator for up to a week. To store asparagus, wrap the spears in a damp paper towel and place them in a plastic bag or airtight container. Alternatively, asparagus can be blanched and frozen for long-term storage. Part 6: Varieties of asparagus. There are several varieties of asparagus that are commonly grown, each with its own unique characteristics. Some popular varieties include Mary Washington, a classic variety with high yields and excellent flavor. Jersey Giant, a newer variety with thick, tender spears and high yields. Purple Passion, a unique variety with purple-colored spears and a slightly sweeter flavor. UC 157, a disease-resistant variety that is known for its high yields and large, uniform spears. When choosing a variety of asparagus to grow, consider factors such as flavor, yield, disease resistance, and spear thickness. Part 7: Cooking with asparagus. Asparagus is a versatile vegetable that can be used in a variety of culinary dishes. It can be boiled, steamed, roasted, grilled, or sautéed, and pairs well with a variety of flavors such as lemon, garlic, and Parmesan cheese. To boil asparagus, bring a pot of salted water to a boil and add the asparagus spears. Boil for 2 to 3 minutes, or until the spears are tender but still crisp. Drain the asparagus and serve immediately. To roast asparagus, preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Toss the asparagus spears with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and spread them out in a single layer on a baking sheet. Roast for 10 to 15 minutes, or until the spears are tender and slightly caramelized. Part 8: Asparagus in traditional medicine. Asparagus has been used in traditional medicine for centuries, with various parts of the plant being used to treat a range of health conditions. For example, asparagus roots have been used to treat urinary tract infections and kidney stones, while the shoots and leaves have been used to treat respiratory infections and inflammation. Asparagus is also a good source of various nutrients and compounds that may have health benefits. For example, asparagus is high in folate, which is important for healthy fetal development and may also help reduce the risk of certain cancers. Grapefruit is a citrus fruit that is not only delicious but also easy to grow in the right conditions. Here are some tips on how to plant and care for grapefruit trees. First, choose a location that has plenty of sunlight and good drainage. Grapefruit trees prefer full sun, which means at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. They also need well-draining soil that is not too acidic or too alkaline. If your soil is not suitable, you can amend it with organic matter like compost. Once you have the right location, it's time to plant your grapefruit tree. Start by digging a hole that is twice as wide and deep as the root ball of the tree. Gently remove the tree from its container and loosen the roots if they are tightly bound. Place the tree in the hole and backfill with soil, making sure to tamp down the soil to remove any air pockets. Water the tree thoroughly after planting and continue to water it regularly. Grapefruit trees need about 1 inch of water per week, either from rainfall or irrigation. Make sure to water deeply, so that the water reaches the root system. Fertilizing is also important for grapefruit trees. They need regular applications of fertilizer to stay healthy and produce fruit. Use a citrus-specific fertilizer that is high in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Apply the fertilizer every 6 to 8 weeks during the growing season, which is typically from spring to fall. Pruning is another important part of caring for grapefruit trees. It helps to keep the tree healthy and productive. Prune your tree in the late winter or early spring before new growth appears. Remove any dead, damaged, or diseased branches, as well as any branches that are growing vertically instead of horizontally. You can also thin out the canopy to allow more sunlight and air to reach the tree. Pests and diseases can be a problem for grapefruit trees, but you can prevent them with proper care. Keep the area around the tree clean and free of debris, which can harbor pests and diseases. Watch for signs of pest infestation, such as yellowing leaves, and treat with an appropriate pesticide if necessary. Diseases like citrus greening can be harder to control, so it's important to plant disease-resistant varieties and practice good cultural practices like proper fertilization and pruning. In addition to the aforementioned tips, there are a few more things to keep in mind when planting and caring for grapefruit trees. One important aspect is to ensure that the tree is properly supported. As the tree grows and bears fruit, its branches can become heavy and may break without support. You can use stakes or trellises to provide support for the tree. Another important aspect to consider is the time of year to plant your grapefruit tree. Ideally, you should plant the tree in the spring or fall, when the temperatures are mild and the soil is not too dry. Avoid planting in the middle of summer or winter, as extreme temperatures can stress the tree and make it more susceptible to pests and diseases. When it comes to harvesting grapefruit, it's important to wait until the fruit is fully ripe before picking it. Grapefruit can take up to 9 months to ripen, depending on the variety and growing conditions. Ripe grapefruit will have a bright yellow or pink color and a sweet, juicy flavor. If you pick the fruit too early, it will not ripen properly and may not be as flavorful. It's important to remember that grapefruit trees can live for decades with proper care. With regular pruning, fertilization, and pest control, your tree can continue to produce delicious fruit year after year. As the tree grows, you may need to adjust the amount of fertilizer and water it receives to meet its changing needs. Another important aspect to consider when caring for grapefruit trees is protecting them from extreme weather conditions. While grapefruit trees can tolerate some cold weather, they are not frost tolerant and can be damaged by freezing temperatures. To protect your tree from frost, cover it with a blanket or tarp when temperatures are expected to drop below freezing. Grapefruit trees are also susceptible to sunburn, especially in hot and dry climates. Sunburn can cause the bark to crack and expose the tree to pests and diseases. To prevent sunburn, paint the trunk of the tree with a white latex paint or wrap it with a light-colored fabric. It's also important to note that grapefruit trees can attract pests like citrus leaf miners, scale insects, and aphids. These pests can cause damage to the leaves and fruit of the tree, and can also spread diseases. To control pests, use natural remedies like neem oil or insecticidal soap, or consult with a professional pest control service. If you're planting multiple grapefruit trees, make sure to give them enough space to grow. Grapefruit trees can grow up to 20 feet tall and wide, so plant them at least 15 to 20 feet apart to avoid overcrowding. Overcrowding can lead to competition for resources like water and nutrients, which can result in stunted growth and poor fruit production. One important aspect of grapefruit tree care is ensuring that they receive adequate water. While grapefruit trees can tolerate some drought, they need regular watering to produce juicy and flavorful fruit. Water your tree deeply and thoroughly once a week, especially during hot and dry weather. To conserve water and improve soil health, consider adding a layer of mulch around the base of your grapefruit tree. Mulch helps to retain moisture in the soil and prevent weed growth. Use organic materials like wood chips or straw, and apply a layer that is at least 2 to 3 inches thick. Grapefruit trees also benefit from regular applications of micronutrients like iron and zinc. These nutrients are essential for healthy growth and fruit production. Aloe vera is a succulent plant that has been used for medicinal and cosmetic purposes for centuries. It is a hardy plant that can thrive in a variety of growing conditions and is relatively easy to care for. In this article, we will explore the techniques for growing and caring for aloe vera plants, including the proper soil, water, light, and temperature requirements, as well as the best practices for harvesting and using the plant's gel and leaves. Soil requirements. Aloe vera plants prefer well-draining soil that is slightly acidic with a pH level between 6.0 and 7.0. The soil should be rich in nutrients and organic matter. A good potting mix for aloe vera should contain a mix of sand, perlite, and peat moss to promote drainage and prevent waterlogging. The plant can also grow in sandy or rocky soils with good drainage. Water requirements. Aloe vera plants are drought tolerant and can survive long periods without water. Overwatering can lead to root rot and other diseases. The plant should be watered deeply, but infrequently, allowing the soil to dry out between waterings. In the summer, the plant may require more frequent watering than in the winter. It is important to avoid getting water on the leaves, as this can cause them to rot. Light requirements. Aloe vera plants prefer bright, indirect sunlight. They can tolerate some direct sunlight, but too much can damage the leaves. In low light conditions, the plant may become leggy and stretched out. The plant should be placed near a window that receives plenty of natural light, but not in direct sunlight. Temperature requirements. Aloe vera plants prefer warm temperatures between 60 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. They can tolerate cooler temperatures down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, but should be protected from frost. The plant should be kept away from cold drafts and air conditioning vents. Propagation. Aloe vera plants can be propagated by division, cuttings, or seeds. Division involves separating the offsets, or baby plants, from the parent plant and replanting them in their own pots. Cuttings can be taken from the stem or leaves and rooted in soil. Seeds can be sown in a potting mix and kept moist until they germinate. Harvesting and using aloe vera. Aloe vera gel can be harvested from the leaves by cutting them at the base and removing the outer skin. The gel can be used topically for sunburn, cuts, and other skin conditions. It can also be ingested in small amounts to aid in digestion and boost the immune system. Aloe vera leaves can also be juiced and used in drinks or smoothies. Fertilizer requirements. Aloe vera plants do not require frequent fertilization, but a slow-release fertilizer can be added to the soil during the growing season to promote healthy growth. A balanced fertilizer with an NPK ratio of October 10, 2010 or 2020 can be used. However, it's important not to over-fertilize the plant, as this can cause the leaves to become brown and withered. Pest and disease control. Aloe vera plants are generally resistant to pests and diseases, but they can be susceptible to mealybugs, spider mites, and scale insects. These pests can be controlled with insecticidal soap or neem oil. Overwatering can lead to fungal diseases such as root rot and leaf spot, which can be prevented by providing proper drainage and avoiding getting water on the leaves. Transplanting. Aloe vera plants can become root-bound over time, and may need to be repotted into a larger container. This should be done during the growing season, in the spring or early summer. When repotting, it's important to use a well-draining potting mix and a pot that is only slightly larger than the current one. The plant should be watered thoroughly after transplanting and given some time to adjust to its new environment. Pruning. Aloe vera plants do not require frequent pruning, but dead or damaged leaves should be removed to maintain the plant's appearance and health. The leaves should be cut at the base using a sharp, clean knife or scissors. The gel can be harvested from the cut leaves, as described above. Pot size and placement. When selecting a pot for your aloe vera plant, it's important to choose one that is just slightly larger than the plant's root ball. A pot that is too large can lead to overwatering and root rot, while a pot that is too small can restrict the plant's growth. In addition, the pot should have drainage holes to prevent water from accumulating in the soil. In terms of placement, aloe vera plants can be grown indoors or outdoors, depending on your climate and preferences. If grown indoors, the plant should be placed near a sunny window that receives at least 6 hours of indirect sunlight per day. If grown outdoors, the plant should be placed in a location that receives partial to full sunlight, depending on the climate. Common varieties. There are several varieties of aloe vera, each with their own unique characteristics. Water lilies are beautiful aquatic plants that can add a touch of elegance and serenity to any water garden or pond. These plants have large, circular leaves that float on the water's surface and beautiful, fragrant flowers that bloom in a variety of colors, including white, pink, yellow, and red. If you're interested in growing water lilies in your own garden or pond, this guide will provide you with all the information you need to get started. Choosing the right location. The first step in growing water lilies is choosing the right location for your plants. Water lilies require full sun to thrive, so you'll need to choose a spot in your pond or water garden that receives at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. If your pond is located in a heavily shaded area, you may need to trim back nearby trees or bushes to allow more sunlight to reach the water's surface. It's also important to choose a location that provides adequate space for your water lilies to grow. Most water lilies require at least 2 to 3 feet of open water around them to spread their leaves and flowers. If you're planting water lilies in a small pond or container, you may need to trim back some of the leaves and stems as they grow to prevent overcrowding. Preparing the soil. Once you've chosen the right location for your water lilies, it's time to prepare the soil. Water lilies require a nutrient-rich soil that's high in organic matter and low in nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. You can create your own water lily soil by mixing together equal parts loam, peat moss, and sand. Before planting your water lilies, you'll need to create a planting pocket in the soil. To do this, use a garden trowel or shovel to dig a hole in the soil that's slightly larger than the plant's root ball. Fill the hole with your water lily soil, and then gently place the plant's root ball in the soil. Making sure that the plant is level and the crown, the point where the roots meet the stem, is above the soil line. Planting and caring for water lilies. Once your water lilies are planted, it's important to care for them properly to ensure they thrive. Here are some tips for planting and caring for water lilies. Water your water lilies regularly. Water lilies require a lot of water to thrive, so it's important to keep the soil around the plants consistently moist. If you're planting your water lilies in a pond or water garden, make sure the water level stays consistent. Fertilize your water lilies. Water lilies require regular fertilization to thrive. Use a slow-release fertilizer that's specifically designed for water lilies, and apply it according to the manufacturer's instructions. Control algae growth. Algae can quickly take over a pond or water garden and compete with water lilies for nutrients. To control algae growth, use an algicide or add aquatic plants like water hyacinths or water lettuce, which can help absorb excess nutrients. Monitor for pests and diseases. Water lilies can be susceptible to pests and diseases like aphids, snails, and fungal infections. Monitor your plants regularly for signs of damage or disease, and treat any problems as soon as they arise. Trim back leaves and stems. As your water lilies grow, you may need to trim back some of the leaves and stems to prevent overcrowding and promote healthy growth. Use a sharp pair of scissors or pruning shears to cut back any damaged or overcrowded growth. One of the keys to successfully growing water lilies is to choose the right variety for your location and climate. There are many different types of water lilies to choose from, including hardy and tropical varieties. Hardy water lilies can survive winter temperatures as low as -30 degrees Fahrenheit, -34 degrees Celsius, while tropical water lilies require warmer temperatures and cannot survive freezing temperatures. When selecting a water lily variety, consider the size and depth of your pond or water garden, as well as the amount of sunlight it receives. Some water lilies, such as the Gladstoniana variety, can grow up to 12 inches, 30 centimeters, in diameter and require deep water to thrive. While others, such as the Helvola variety, are small and compact and can grow in shallow water. In addition to proper planting and care, it's important to maintain good water quality in your pond or water garden. Regular water testing can help you monitor levels of nutrients, pH, and other factors that can affect plant growth and health. Adding a water feature like a fountain or waterfall can also help to aerate the water and keep it healthy. Another important factor to consider when growing water lilies is the timing of planting. Water lilies can be planted in the spring or fall, depending on your location and climate. In colder regions, it's best to plant in the spring after the danger of frost has passed, while in warmer regions, fall planting may be more successful. Be sure to choose a time when the water temperature is at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius, to ensure proper growth and development. To promote healthy growth and prevent overcrowding, it's also important to thin out your water lilies periodically. This involves removing excess growth and dividing the plants every few years to prevent them from becoming too crowded. To divide a water lily, gently lift the plant out of the soil and separate the roots and rhizomes, the horizontal stems that produce new growth, into smaller sections using a sharp knife or shears. It's also important to watch out for potential problems and take action to prevent or treat them as needed. Some common issues that can affect water lilies include leaf spot, rust, and fungal infections. If you notice any signs of damage or disease, such as yellowing or wilting leaves, it's important to take action right away to prevent the problem from spreading. One of the most rewarding aspects of growing water lilies is watching them bloom. Water lily flowers are known for their delicate beauty and fragrance, and they can add a touch of color and elegance to any water garden or pond. The flowers usually bloom in the morning and close up in the afternoon or evening, so be sure to catch them at their peak time for maximum enjoyment. When selecting water lily flowers, consider the color, size, and fragrance of the blooms. Some popular water lily varieties include the James Bryden variety, which features deep red flowers, and the Marlacea chromatella variety, which has yellow flowers and a sweet fragrance. If you're looking for a unique and unusual water lily, consider the Star of Siam variety, which has purple and white striped flowers. In addition to providing beauty and fragrance, water lilies can also play an important role in maintaining the health and balance of your pond or water garden. They can help to filter the water, absorb excess nutrients, and provide habitat for fish and other aquatic creatures. By planting and caring for water lilies, you can create a healthy and sustainable ecosystem that will benefit both your plants and your aquatic friends. To add more diversity to your water garden or pond, consider incorporating other aquatic plants alongside your water lilies. Spring is a season of new beginnings, and for gardeners, it's the perfect time to start tending to their plants and crops. As the weather warms up, plants begin to come out of dormancy and start growing again, and it's crucial to provide them with the care they need to thrive. In this article, we will discuss some essential tips and tricks for taking care of your plants during the spring season. Soil preparation. The first step in caring for your plants in the spring is to prepare the soil. Start by removing any weeds, rocks, or debris from the planting area. Then, loosen the soil with a garden fork or tiller to allow air, water, and nutrients to reach the roots of your plants. Finally, add organic matter such as compost, manure, or leaf litter to improve the soil's fertility. Watering. Watering is crucial for the growth and development of plants. During the spring, plants need more water than they do in the winter, but be careful not to overwater them. Too much water can lead to root rot and other diseases. Water your plants deeply once or twice a week, depending on the weather and the type of plant. Fertilizing. Fertilizing is an essential part of plant care. It provides the necessary nutrients that plants need to grow and thrive. Use a balanced fertilizer or one with a higher nitrogen content in the spring to promote leaf growth. Be careful not to over-fertilize, as this can also harm your plants. Pruning. Pruning is an essential part of plant care that helps to promote healthy growth and remove dead or diseased branches. In the spring, prune any dead or damaged branches from your plants. Also, remove any suckers or unwanted shoots to help channel the plant's energy to the main stem. Pest control. Pests can be a significant problem for plants, especially during the spring when they are most active. Monitor your plants regularly for signs of pest damage, such as holes in the leaves, chewed stems, or wilting. Use natural or chemical pest control methods to protect your plants from pests. Mulching. Mulching is an excellent way to protect your plants from weeds, retain moisture, and regulate soil temperature. Apply a layer of organic mulch, such as wood chips, straw, or leaves, around your plants in the spring to help conserve moisture and keep the soil cool. Sunlight. Sunlight is crucial for plant growth, and it's essential to ensure that your plants are getting enough sunlight in the spring. Some plants, such as tomatoes and peppers, require full sun, while others, such as lettuce and spinach, prefer partial shade. Make sure to plant your crops in an area that receives the appropriate amount of sunlight. Crop rotation. Crop rotation is a method of planting different crops in different areas each year to prevent soil-borne diseases and pests from building up. Rotate your crops in the spring by planting different plants in different areas to help maintain soil health and reduce the risk of disease. Companion planting. Companion planting is a technique where two or more plants are planted together to provide mutual benefits. For example, planting marigolds alongside tomatoes can help repel pests and improve soil health. Research companion planting options for your crops to maximize their potential. Monitoring. It's essential to monitor your plants regularly throughout the spring season to catch any problems before they get out of hand. Keep an eye out for signs of nutrient deficiencies, disease, or pest damage and address them promptly. Regular monitoring will help you stay on top of your plant's health and ensure a successful growing season. Temperature control. Spring weather can be unpredictable, with sudden temperature swings that can harm your plants. Protect your plants from cold snaps by covering them with blankets or frost cloths. Conversely, be sure to provide adequate ventilation and shading during hot spells to prevent overheating. Weed control. Weeds can compete with your plants for water and nutrients, and they can also harbor pests and diseases. Keep weeds under control by pulling them by hand or using a hoe to remove them. You can also use mulch to suppress weed growth and keep your planting area looking neat and tidy. Trellising. Many plants, such as tomatoes, cucumbers, and peas, benefit from trellising or staking. This technique helps to keep plants upright, maximizes space, and improves air circulation. Install trellises or stakes early in the season before your plants get too big. Deadheading. Deadheading is the process of removing spent flowers from plants to promote new growth and prolong the blooming period. Deadhead annuals, perennials, and shrubs as needed throughout the spring season to keep your garden looking its best. Harvesting. Spring is a time of growth and abundance, and it's essential to harvest your crops regularly to keep them producing. Pick fruits and vegetables as soon as they are ripe to prevent overripening and ensure the best flavor and quality. Also, harvest herbs and flowers regularly to promote bushy growth and prevent them from going to seed. Irrigation. Proper irrigation is crucial for plant growth and health, especially during the spring season. Make sure your plants are receiving enough water, but be careful not to water them too much. Overwatering can lead to root rot and other problems. Use drip irrigation or soaker hoses to deliver water directly to the roots and minimize water loss through evaporation. Soil testing. Soil testing is an essential part of plant care that helps you determine your soil's pH and nutrient levels. Test your soil in the spring to identify any deficiencies or imbalances and adjust your fertilization program accordingly. You can purchase a soil test kit or send a sample to a soil testing laboratory for analysis. Season extension. Spring is a relatively short season, and you can extend it by using techniques such as row covers, cold frames, or greenhouses. These methods can help protect your plants from the elements and allow you to grow crops later into the fall or even over the winter. Sun scald prevention. Sun scald can be a significant problem for plants in the spring, especially young seedlings or plants that have been recently transplanted. Sun scald occurs when plants are exposed to too much direct sunlight, causing the leaves to burn and turn brown. To prevent sun scald, provide shade for your plants during the hottest part of the day, or cover them with a shade cloth or other protective cover. As a popular beverage around the world, tea is widely consumed in various forms, from black tea to green tea and herbal tea. To ensure the quality of the tea, it is important to grow and care for the tea plant properly. In this article, we will guide you through the process of how to plant and care for tea plants correctly. Planting tea plants. The first step in growing tea plants is to select the right location. Tea plants need to be grown in an area that receives plenty of sunlight, ideally in a spot with morning sun and afternoon shade. The soil should be well draining and rich in nutrients. Tea plants prefer slightly acidic soil with a pH range of 6.0 to 6.5. The best time to plant tea plants is in the spring or fall. Dig a hole that is twice the size of the root ball and add compost or other organic matter to the soil. Gently remove the tea plant from its container and loosen the roots before placing it in the hole. Fill in the hole with soil and tamp it down lightly. Water the plant thoroughly to help it establish its roots. Caring for tea plants. Watering. Tea plants need to be watered regularly to maintain healthy growth. The frequency of watering will depend on the climate and the soil type. In general, tea plants should be watered deeply once a week, and more frequently during hot and dry weather. However, be careful not to overwater the plant, as this can lead to root rot. Fertilizing. Tea plants require regular fertilization to produce healthy foliage and quality tea leaves. It is recommended to use a balanced fertilizer that contains equal amounts of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Fertilize tea plants once every 3 months, starting in the spring and ending in the fall. Pruning. Pruning is essential to maintaining the health of tea plants and promoting new growth. Prune the tea plant in the early spring to remove any dead or damaged branches. This will help stimulate new growth and improve the overall appearance of the plant. Pest and disease control. Tea plants are susceptible to various pests and diseases, including aphids, mealybugs, and fungal infections. To control pests, you can use organic insecticides or introduce beneficial insects like ladybugs or lacewings. To prevent fungal infections, avoid overhead watering and ensure good air circulation around the plant. Harvesting tea leaves. The final step in growing tea plants is harvesting the leaves. The timing of the harvest will depend on the type of tea being produced. For green tea, the leaves should be harvested when they are young and tender, usually in the spring. For black tea, the leaves should be harvested when they are fully mature, typically in the summer. Use sharp scissors or pruning shears to carefully remove the top 2 leaves and the bud from each stem. Weeding. It is essential to keep the area around the tea plants free from weeds. Weeds can compete with the tea plant for nutrients and water, leading to stunted growth and poor quality leaves. Remove any weeds by hand or with a hoe, being careful not to damage the tea plant's roots. Mulching. Applying a layer of mulch around the tea plant can help retain moisture in the soil, suppress weed growth, and regulate soil temperature. Use organic mulch like shredded leaves, straw, or grass clippings, and spread it around the base of the tea plant, leaving a few inches of space around the stem. Winter protection. If you live in an area with harsh winters, it may be necessary to provide some protection for your tea plants. Tea plants can tolerate light frost, but prolonged exposure to freezing temperatures can damage the plant. Consider covering the tea plant with a frost cloth or burlap sack to protect it from the cold. Propagation. Tea plants can be propagated by cuttings, seeds, or layering. Taking cuttings from a healthy tea plant is the easiest way to propagate, but it can be challenging to get the cuttings to root. Seeds can also be used, but they can take up to 3 years to germinate and may not produce the same quality of tea leaves as the parent plant. Layering involves bending a branch of the tea plant to the ground and covering it with soil to encourage it to root. Sunlight. Tea plants require plenty of sunlight to grow properly. When selecting a planting location, make sure it receives at least 4 to 6 hours of sunlight per day. However, in areas with hot and dry climates, excessive sun exposure can cause leaf scorching. In this case, you may want to provide some afternoon shade or use shade cloth to protect the tea plants. Soil. Tea plants prefer well-draining soil that is rich in organic matter. Before planting, test the soil pH level using a soil testing kit, and adjust it if necessary. Tea plants thrive in slightly acidic soil with a pH level between 5.5 and 6.5. If your soil is too alkaline, you can add soil amendments like sulfur or pine needles to lower the pH level. Watering. Proper watering is crucial for the health and growth of tea plants. Tea plants require consistent moisture, but they do not tolerate waterlogged soil. Water the tea plant deeply once a week, or more frequently during hot and dry weather. Avoid overhead watering, as this can promote fungal growth and leaf disease. Instead, water the tea plant at the base using a drip irrigation system or a watering can. Harvesting. When harvesting tea leaves, be sure to pick only the top 2 leaves and the bud from each stem. Avoid picking leaves that are too young or too old, as they may not produce the desired flavor and aroma. Coffee is one of the most popular beverages in the world, and it is also a major global commodity. Coffee trees, which produce the coffee beans used to make coffee, are grown in many parts of the world, but the most famous coffee growing regions are in Central and South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Growing coffee requires specialized knowledge and techniques, and in this essay, we will explore the various aspects of coffee cultivation, including planting, growing, and caring for coffee trees. Planting coffee trees. The first step in growing coffee is to plant the trees. Coffee trees are typically grown from seeds or cuttings, and they require specific growing conditions. The trees grow best in areas with a tropical climate, with temperatures ranging from 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. They also require a lot of rainfall, and most coffee trees are grown in areas with a yearly rainfall of at least 60 inches. The soil in which the trees are grown is also critical. Coffee trees thrive in well-draining soil that is rich in organic matter. The pH of the soil should be between 6.0 and 6.5, and the soil should be free of rocks and other debris. After planting the coffee trees, it takes about 3 to 4 years for them to start producing coffee beans. During this time, the trees require a lot of care and attention to ensure that they grow correctly. Caring for coffee trees. Caring for coffee trees involves a variety of tasks, including pruning, fertilizing, and pest control. Pruning helps to shape the trees and promote new growth. It also helps to control the size of the trees and prevent them from becoming too large. Fertilizing is also essential for the growth of coffee trees. The trees require a lot of nutrients, including nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These nutrients are typically added to the soil through the use of fertilizers. It is essential to use the correct type of fertilizer and apply it at the right time to ensure that the trees receive the proper nutrients. Pest control is also critical for coffee trees. There are many pests that can damage coffee trees, including beetles, mites, and fungi. These pests can cause significant damage to the trees and reduce the yield of coffee beans. To prevent pest infestations, it is essential to monitor the trees regularly and take action as soon as any problems are detected. Harvesting coffee beans. After the coffee trees reach maturity, they start producing coffee beans. The beans are typically harvested once a year, although some trees may produce 2 crops per year. Harvesting is typically done by hand, with workers picking the coffee cherries from the trees. Once the coffee cherries are harvested, they are processed to remove the outer layer of the fruit and extract the coffee beans. There are 2 main methods of processing coffee, the wet method and the dry method. The wet method involves washing the coffee cherries and removing the outer layer of the fruit. The dry method involves drying the coffee cherries and removing the outer layer of the fruit after they have dried. Planting coffee trees. When planting coffee trees, it is crucial to choose a suitable location with the right climate and soil conditions. Coffee trees require a lot of sunlight and should be planted in areas with at least 6 hours of direct sunlight per day. They also require a lot of water and should be planted in areas with good drainage and access to a water source. The soil in which the trees are planted should be well draining, fertile, and rich in organic matter. Soil testing can help determine the soil's pH level, which should be between 6.0 and 6.5. If the soil is too acidic or alkaline, it can affect the tree's growth and the quality of the coffee beans. When planting coffee trees, it is also essential to give them enough space to grow. The trees should be planted at least 6 to 8 feet apart to ensure they have enough room for their roots to grow. Caring for coffee trees. Caring for coffee trees involves a range of activities, including pruning, fertilizing, and pest control. Pruning is essential for maintaining the shape and size of the coffee trees, as well as promoting new growth. It involves removing dead or damaged branches, as well as any branches that are growing inward towards the center of the tree. Pruning also helps to increase air circulation and sunlight penetration, which can reduce the risk of fungal diseases. Fertilizing is another critical aspect of caring for coffee trees. Coffee trees require a lot of nutrients to produce healthy leaves and fruits. The 3 primary nutrients required by coffee trees are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Fertilizers should be applied in small quantities throughout the year, rather than in a single large dose. Pest control is also important for coffee trees, as there are many pests that can damage the trees and reduce the yield of coffee beans. Common pests include coffee berry borers, leaf miners, and spider mites. To prevent pest infestations, it is essential to monitor the trees regularly and take action as soon as any problems are detected. Harvesting coffee beans. Harvesting coffee beans is a labor-intensive process that requires careful attention to detail. The timing of the harvest is critical, as the beans must be picked at the peak of ripeness to ensure the best flavor and quality. In most coffee-growing regions, the harvest season lasts for several months, and the beans are picked by hand. Workers typically use a technique called selective picking, where only the ripest cherries are harvested, leaving the unripe cherries on the tree to ripen further. After the coffee are picked, they are either processed using the wet or dry method, depending on the region and the farmer's preference. The wet method involves washing the cherries to remove the outer layer of fruit, while the dry method involves drying the coffee and then removing the outer layer. Climate. The climate plays a crucial role in coffee cultivation, as coffee trees thrive in warm, humid conditions. Ideal temperatures for coffee growth range between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and the trees require a minimum of 60 inches of annual rainfall. If the climate is too dry or too cold, the coffee trees may not grow well or may not produce high-quality beans. Altitude. Altitude also plays an important role in coffee cultivation, as coffee trees thrive at higher elevations.